Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Welcome back. It is exactly 8:33. We are now going to be joined by senior researcher at AFRASID, and that is Thembisa Fakude. Let me also welcome him to the program. And on behalf of everyone here at Salam Media, many, many, many congratulations. You are now also the CEO of Mail and Guardian newspapers. So I guess we Salam Media, in our interactions with you, are in very, very good company. Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the program this morning.
Wa alaikum salam, and thanks for having me.
Many congratulations. How are you juggling the two jobs, being CEO of Mail and Guardian?
It's not easy, and I hit the ground running with bricks, so it's been a bit happy, busy though. So it's interesting times ahead, and hopefully with the du'as, everything will be successful, inshallah.
Subhanallah, undoubtedly. You have been in the media and political space for a long, long time. So you definitely will rise to the occasion. We have much confidence in you and look forward to some great reportage from the Mail and Guardian team, with you being, overlooking and running, being the CEO of the Mail and Guardian. They will continue doing the amazing work that they do. So we'll be keeping our eyes peeled on that one. And we do hope you're not going to be too busy to talk with us in the future.
Not at all, not at all. Always available.
Okay, Alhamdulillah for that. On today's show, we're going to be looking at the issue around the Libyan Libyan Foreign Minister Najla Al-Mangush under fire, possibly even have left the country for meeting with the Israeli counterpart. And we're wondering what on earth is going on there. On the Israeli side, apparently, they too were not very happy about this meeting, which happened in France. What is the backstory to this? And would you think perhaps that the reaction by the Libyans was perhaps a bit too strong? What exactly is the backstory to this meeting?
Well, I think the backstory to this meeting is the atrocity that continues to inflict the Palestinians is basically what has moved this. And there's a very strong solidarity within the Libyans with the Palestinians. So when the decision or the meeting took place between Israeli diplomats and the foreign minister, that created a problem, and that's why we saw the backlash. So it's mainly because what has amplified this situation is because of the continuing violations by the Israeli government, particularly on the Palestinians, and that's why the Libyans responded, the manner it has responded. But importantly, I think it communicates something, outside what has happened with the Moroccans, with the Sudanese and Bahrainis and all others who have since normalized relations with Israel, is that Libya is not really interested. And I think these protests clearly communicated that message.
I kind of wonder, is it as the authorities or the Israeli government and the Libyan government truly were not aware of these talks happening? What happens in diplomatic circles when these type of talks are held at such high level? In this situation, we understand that the meeting was hosted by Italian Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani. I'm wondering what led to him having set up this meeting between the two parties. Were there other forces at play that wanted this meeting to happen because of an agenda on the table of possibly the Italians, the Libyans and the Israelis? And that then brings me to the Abraham Accords. We need to discuss that in more detail, because other players are on board. Other Muslim countries in the Middle East are supposedly on board. How will it impact on those countries that are not wanting to have ties with the Israelis? So a lot thrown at you. Let's get those responses.
Yeah, well, I think it was definitely an attempt to promote and continue with the promotion of Abrahamic Accords. There is no way that the Libyan government did not know about this. This was a meeting that was prearranged, and it was mainly to test the waters on how the Libyans were going to respond. And we've seen how the Libyans are responding in this regard. And there are moves now that we hear also Saudi Arabia joining the fray in terms of trying to normalize relations with Israel. So Libya was one of those. We must remember that Khalifa al-Haftar, one of the faction leaders in Libya, is very close with the Emiratis, who are actually pushing the idea of the Abrahamic Accord. So one wouldn't be surprised that the government of Libya was very aware of this, and there were others, including the United States and Italians, who were involved in arranging this meeting, which has since backlashed. So the Abrahamic Accords, it's full steam ahead. We've seen, by the way, that even South Africa and the other BRICS countries have decided to add the UAE into BRICS. The UAE is the champion or arc promoter of these Abrahamic Accords. So one, anticipates a much more, lobbying within BRICS, particularly to countries such as Egypt and Saudi Arabia to normalize relations with Israel.
Okay, two points I'm going to bring up here. So basically, the Libyan Foreign Minister Najla al-Mangoush was the fall guy here, because as you indicate, and as I've also suggested, that there was no ways that other top government officials were not aware of these talks happening. And as you rightly say, this was probably to test the waters. Let's go to the Abrahamic Accords and understand what's in it for all of the countries involved. What is in it for them concerned? Would this then suggest that perhaps this is some sort, to normalize relations between these countries and a road to peace, or is that too far-fetched as far as the Palestinian situation is concerned?
Well, you can't be achieving peace in any way or form when the Israeli government continues on its insurgence and oppression of the Palestinian people. We see on a daily basis how they go in and invade, going into some of the refugee camps in Palestine, arrest people, kill people, and over the past couple of weeks, they've empowered the right-wing settlers who are now going on a rampage, killing and attacking innocent Palestinians. So the situation is much more complicated, and I don't think there's any path towards peace at the moment, as long as the Israelis continue doing so. The right-wing government of Israel is, dug in its heels in terms of how they continue dealing with the Palestinians. Notwithstanding, the United Arab Emirates and others in the Middle East are normalizing these relationships. It was a relationship or an agreement that was initiated with Donald Trump during his tenure as the president of the United States, and it came up with a number of proposals, including building a bridge from the West Bank to Gaza to avoid all the complications as Palestinians try to move to reach their families and workplaces. I mean, the West Bank and Gaza has totally been cut off. So there were a lot of other points included in this deal that, according to Trump and his son-in-law, Jared Kushner, was leading this at the time, were meant to promote peace. But we see that peace is far from being reached at the moment between the Palestinians and Israelis because of the continuing oppression of the Palestinians. And many Arab countries outside those that have normalized relations with Israel have given up and continue to call on or support the Palestinian cause in this regard. Palestinians themselves, Hamas, Fatah, and other groupings within Palestine have criticized the Abrahamic Accord, and they've got no support whatsoever in terms of them entering into any form of negotiation between themselves and Israel. And then we find the UAE and Saudi Arabia sitting, with their pie on their faces because they thought that this was going to be an easy sell to the Palestinians.
I can't resist making this comment. You spoke about Trump and Kushner, his son-in-law, wanting to push this agenda of the Abrahamic Accords and the bridge in Israel, Palestine, so to speak. I kind of wonder what happened to that great wall that Trump was wanting to build on the border of the United States and Mexico. Has that ever come to pass?
Well, no, it didn't come to pass, but all we know is that the wall in Israel is strong and continues to expand. So that wall is unlikely to come down anytime soon. But Trump's wall did not come to pass because there's much more stringent processes in the United States compared to the unilateral decisions and moves in front of the entire world when Benjamin Netanyahu and Ariel Sharon before him moved to build a wall that separated not only the Israelis, not only the Israelis from the Palestinians, but also created havoc in terms of dividing and creating all of these cantons in Palestine, separating the Palestinians themselves from reaching various places. We already know that Gaza was totally annexed, and people of Gaza and the Palestinians now regard themselves as foreigners. So the wall has further petitioned Palestine into small little townships and cantons, and that has created a problem.
How does the world, the Middle East in particular, and possibly the Western world, because they are directly responsible for the mess that we see playing out by the Israeli occupiers or the Zionist occupiers in Palestine, and causing all of this hardship to the point of possibly even being ethnic cleansing, according to their viewpoint, because they have said that the land of Palestine was promised to them, in the Bible, so to speak. How do we see all of this playing out? Who should be involved? Whom do we, do we kind of ask Western nations at this point in time, you created the mess, you caused this mess way back in 1947, 48, with the Balfour Accord, etc. You need to now fix it, and you need to pay reparation to the people of Palestine and help them rebuild their land. It's come to a point when you can't any longer, am I right, Thembisa? It's come to a point, a critical breaking point now.
Well, I don't think there's anything that's going to be done or that will happen at the moment until, of course, the Arabs or the Palestinian brethren in the Arab world take a stronger move. But instead, what we see them doing is see them normalizing relations with the same oppressor. So I do not have any optimism in my mind about ever achieving peace, nor the Arab countries standing firm in support of the Palestinians. In fact, what we're going to start saying, even though the whole idea of two-state solution, of course, has been dismantled, but what we're going to start saying is a continuation of oppression of the Palestinians, and the Arab countries will do nothing about it. The Arab League has always remained quiet in terms of how the Palestinians are oppressed. I mean, the treatment of the Palestinians by those Israelis. So the world will take a cue from there. If the immediate countries and the neighboring countries are not moving strong enough to deal with this situation, why do we expect that other countries outside the region will be much more firm in terms of dealing with the Palestinians?
Absolutely. If their own people, their Arab neighbors, are unable to or refuse to support them due to a situation of control, greed, power, etc., why should the Western world care, even though they were directly responsible for the situation in Palestine way back in the 1947-48 with the Balfour Accord, obviously. That's where we leave it. Any final thoughts from you this morning, Thembisa Fakude?
Sorry, can you repeat that, please?
Any final thoughts from you this morning regarding the mess, the geopolitical mess in the Middle East, before we let you go?
Well, I think the challenge in the Middle East, particularly in Palestine, most of it is own goals and self-inflicted. And you have the leadership of people such as Mohammed bin Zayed, Mohammed bin Salman, and others in Morocco and other places who are not making the situation much more easier for the Palestinians. It will continue being a problem. In Sudan, for example, notwithstanding, Sudanese have also gone on to endorse the Abrahamic Accord by normalizing relations with Israel. Egypt, similarly, done the same. So it's not a pretty picture that we're seeing at the moment. The Palestinians are basically on their own. The Arab leaders have taken a different position towards the Palestinians. We only have very few countries that remain in solidarity with the Palestinians. So it's a very bleak picture for the Palestinians moving forward. And geopolitically in the Middle East, you'll remain again with all of those challenges as long as those dictators remain in place, particularly in countries such as Saudi Arabia. We see what Mohammed bin Salman is doing, etc. So as long as we have those dictatorships in place and intact, I don't see any changes in the Palestinian situation, including the geopolitical stability in the Middle East.
And that's where we leave it. Undoubtedly, lots of more in-depth discussions to be had with you, Thembisa Fakude. Of course, as I've mentioned a little earlier, he is the senior researcher at AFRASID and also now the CEO of the Mail and Garden newspaper. Once again, many congratulations on your amazing achievements, and we look forward to many more discussions with you right here on Salam Media. Go well. Salaam alaikum to you.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullah.
The time is exactly 8:48. News and views on Salam Media. And on the top of the hour, we will be talking with our news correspondent, that is Jadwit. Let me give you a rundown of what else is coming up on the show a little later on. Our Women in Media, finally, as the month of the women, month of August, which is Women's Month, comes to an end. We will be talking with Gishma Johnson. I suppose that will be the last woman we are featuring on the show on News and Views, because tomorrow is the 1st of September. No, it's not. It's the 31st. So undoubtedly, Inayat Wadi will have one final woman that we will be accolading here on Salam Media. Not forgetting that on Friday, the 1st of September, is officially the first day of spring. I so look forward to that for balmy summer days. I don't like the winter. Anyway, I do look forward to spring and summer, inshallah, and we do look forward to that. But let me give you the rundown. Gishma Johnson, co-founder, producer, and presenter at IFM, is going to be our Woman in Media today. And then outer executive director, Advocate Stephanie Fick, is going to be talking to us about the Road Traffic Infringement Agency. They are temporarily lifting orders blocking drivers from renewing their license discs. Then we'll cross over to Berlin in Germany, and we'll be talking with the World Uyghur Congress Director, and that is Khairu Kurban, about President Xi from China having visited the Uyghur people. What is that all about? Is it just a PR exercise, or does that indicate hopefully meaningful change for the Uyghur people situation in China? So do stay with us. Lots more coming your way. Not forgetting, as I've said, the news on the top of the hour with Zahid Jadwit.